Started. And here's what I want to do. The first thing I'm going to do after I introduce who I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to solicit questions that you guys have, because we're talking about hiring your first ISA or hiring profitable ISAs here. And so I want to take your questions and I want to make sure that I get them answered today. So let me see if I can get us live into the Facebook group. This has been interesting lately, that it's been difficult to get onto Facebook from Zoom. To locate our clients. Let's see if this works. Permissions error. Okay, well, it's not going to let me go live in the Facebook group, so we'll just get started today. Good to see everybody. I'm Dale Archdekin. I'm the founder of Smart Sales Coaching. Do me a favor, as many people as possible, if you are not operating a motor vehicle and you are properly dressed, please turn your camera on. When I say properly dressed, mostly wearing clothes. If you're wearing clothes and you're not driving a car, please turn your camera on. Okay. Good stuff. Good to see you. All right. So who I am is, my name is Dale Archdekin. As I said, I'm the founder of Smart Sales Coaching. And my company, for those of you who don't know, we specialize in scripting and dialogue training for agents and ISAs. And where we actually started almost 8 years ago is the fact that I come from building and managing profitable ISA departments for large real estate teams and brokerages. And so today, when we're talking about how to hire your first ISA, that's really just the title of this. And I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have about hiring ISAs, implementing it into your business, making them profitable, or fixing whatever broken thing you've done with trying out ISAs, or even to answer questions about how do I know if I'm ready to hire an ISA or not, or should I get one? So here's what I'd like to do. Do this. If you guys have specific questions, at the bottom of your screen is a little smiley face reaction button. Click that, raise your hand. I'd like you to raise your hands now. I want to go around and grab some of the questions from the audience, because I can talk about this stuff. I can talk about it upside down and inside out for hours, but I want to make sure that I get your specific questions answered that you're looking to get for your business or for yourselves currently. So click the little reactions button, raise your hand if you have any questions. And I want to get some of the questions out now. That would be great. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Unless none of you have any questions and you all just want to hear me talk. Hey, there we go. Sandy, she did clapping. Sandy, what are you here to learn today or to get answered?
I'm very interested in the pay scale for an ISA. Okay. How you start off paying them, whether you grant them like a basic wage, and then eventually do you graduate to performance-based commission only? I'm just very interested in the best practice for that.
All right, great. So we're definitely going to cover pay. That's good. Who else?
I have virtual versus in person.
Okay, we're definitely going to cover that. And Ryan did not raise his hand, everybody. I don't know if you noticed that. Who else? Go ahead, Beth.
Super curious about everything you're going to say. We're at the spot where we need to hire an ISA. It's definitely our next hire. And I've seen different things and heard different things. I don't know what I'm doing. So
okay. Let me ask you a question, Beth. How do you know that you need to hire an ISA?
We need someone following up with leads, doing our touching our database all the time. I've looked at Cyberbacker and stuff like that. They've got options, but I just need someone that can follow up with leads and touch my database on a quarterly basis, and then whatever else they can do.
For you or for your agents?
Both, me and my buyer's agent.
Okay. Oops. Oh, what the hell happened there? Okay, great. Thank you, Beth.
Yep.
I'm going to give you guys one piece of advice here right now, and I don't know whether this applies to Beth or not. I don't know if this applies to you or not. Here's what I'm going to say. If you think that you need an ISA because the agents on your team are not setting enough appointments for themselves and are not following up with their leads, you do not need an ISA. What you need to do is you need to train your agents to be salespeople, or you need to find better salespeople. That's what you need. And so if you want an ISA to fix an underperforming sales team, I like to say that's like having a baby to fix your marriage. It's not going to work the way you think it is. I just want to tell everybody that right now, okay? And yes, we'll get into it, but I think for me, so just to give you some background on what my company does, beyond scripting and dialogue training, we also help agents and teams and brokerages build and implement inside sales into their companies. And I'm going to cover pay. I'm going to cover virtual versus in-house or in-market. And I'm going to cover a recruiting process for you to use. But first and foremost, we have a lot of people that come to my company looking for us to help them implement inside sales into their business. And what I would say is that probably 7 out of 10 times, it typically is a team leader whose agents are underperforming, aren't using or utilizing or maximizing the leads that they're being provided. And the team leader is frustrated and wants someone, quote, somebody to work the leads and give appointments to their agents. The only time that that makes sense is if you have agents who are so busy going on their own appointments, showing homes, on listing appointments, to the point where they literally can't follow up with all these leads and put the touches on them. That is where you want to hire inside sales, because you already have successful, productive agents and you need to support them further, and you need to specialize within your sales, in your sales department. If you don't have that, the only other place that this works is if you're a team leader and you're still in production and you want more appointments for yourself, right? Here's what I say, don't give appointments to lazy agents who aren't setting their own appointments. There's a couple of reasons for that. ISAs, if you do virtual, it's relatively cheap, but in my opinion, they're only good for a certain set of actions. If you want an in-market ISA, which can really take the sales life cycle all the way through to really good vetted appointments with buyers and sellers. In order to do that, it's really expensive, and we're going to get into it. So if you do that, if you go to that expense, if the majority of the agents on your team aren't productive already and aren't setting their own appointments with strangers, right? Working stranger business, if all they're doing is waiting for handouts from you or working their laydown stuff from their sphere and past clients, then they don't have the aggressiveness or the drive or desire, and in some cases the skills, to actually convert the appointments that your expensive ISA is going to book for them. Okay? You got it, everybody? Okay. The reason I start there is because this is expensive, and to manage, to train, lead, manage, and make an ISA profitable takes even more oversight and consistency as a leader than it does to simply get a salesperson to go out and talk to leads and book their own damn appointment. Okay? It takes even more. So if you're struggling with your agents, if you're struggling with accountability, if you're struggling with production from your sales team, you will just find that you are making it even harder for yourself and more expensive if you try to implement inside sales. 50% of the success of inside sales is the outside agents. So dial in your outside agents first, then spend the money on inside salespeople and dial them in. That's generally the process you want to follow. If you're a solo agent, you're going on your own appointments, and you have the budget to diversify, and you already have your assistant in place, you already have leverage on that operational side, and really what you need is somebody in your database, in your agent locator, communicating with leads, nurturing them, and teeing them up for a warm conversation with you, or even a face-to-face. Great, do it if you have the budget to do that. Because if you're already a productive salesperson, then you do have a successful sales team, right? Okay, so any other questions before I get into the specifics here? I just wanted to give you that quick monologue about how not to use inside sales. Let me get to it. I'm sure the questions will pop up. Sandy, you said you're on the cusp of signing a contract with an outside ISA team. Can you unmute yourself and tell us about that?
Yeah, I have met with once. I'm meeting with them again later today, an outside team. And that's all they do. They are outsourced ISAs. There's of course all kinds of guarantees and backups, as you would expect. The timing of this program right here and right now is amazing for me, because I think you're going to fill a lot of the holes and a lot of the gaps, and maybe clarify some of the myths surrounding hiring an ISA for me. So this is great.
Okay, let's talk about that first, guys. All right, let's talk about outsourcing before I even get into how to do it yourself. I have sad news for you. Outsourcing almost never works. Outsourcing is almost never profitable. Best case scenarios from most people, and I work across North America. I work across teams in every market, and I've been doing this for a very long time, and almost probably let's put it this way. The best case scenarios I typically hear is that somebody breaks even on the money they spent for outsource. Okay. It usually doesn't work. The only times that I've seen it actually work well would be if a small operator decides they're going to hang their shingle because they're a pretty good ISA, and they're going to start setting appointments for other people, and they take the clients on themselves. That I've seen work better. But if it's a company that holds themselves out to place, quote unquote, place ISAs with you, or manage in-house or offshore ISAs for you, virtuals, those are almost never profitable. Think about it this way. What we're asking an ISA to do is to probably the hardest sales job, which is to be able to engage consumers, engage strangers at a high level, be able to build rapport, be able to set appointments with them, be able to overcome objections with them, be able to go from being a complete stranger to somebody that we know, like, and trust. And to do that high level sales job, one, the reason that it's very difficult for an outsourced company to do that consistently is because for them to do it at scale and make any money, they have to have a lot of ISAs that they're recruiting and training and managing and keeping on staff at all times. And what I'm telling you right now is that this position in terms of sales is one of the hardest ones to fill. It's one of the hardest ones to find somebody in your market who knows your general area, who can do this to a high level. And then to go to a company that, in order to make any kind of money, has to do this for several hundred clients, which means they have to maintain a stable of consistently good and productive ISAs, whether in your country or some other country, which would make it even harder. How can they produce the kind of quality that you would need to convert your leads to any degree that would make it profitable for you? That's very difficult to do unless you are in a very expensive market, right? If you are in the multi-million-dollar market, then you don't need too many sales in order to make it make sense. If you're in an average priced market, it's virtually impossible. It doesn't pay for itself. And if you're in a lower price market, it never works. So I just want to put that out there, Sandy. So here's what I would say, everybody. Do not sign any long-term contracts with a done-for-you ISA company, period. If they produce, you say, hey, I'll give you money, you do the work, and if you show results, I'll stick with you. And they may say things like, well, we can't commit our resources unless we know you're going to stay with us, and it takes a while to get started. Great. Then let's do it. Tell me what I can expect in the first 30 days, what I can expect in the first 60 days, in the first 90 days, and we'll agree to that. But I'm not signing anything long-term. Say this, because I know that 9 times out of 10, a done-for-you ISA company is not profitable. And here's what I'll tell you. Most of them have at least a 50% churn rate on the clients that sign up with them, which means they have to constantly be signing up new clients. So that's what I want to say there. And the reason I'm laying this out for you guys is because I'm going to tell you the hardest way to do ISAs, which is, in my opinion, the best and most productive and most profitable, but it is the hardest way to do it. The hardest way to do it is to hire in your local market. Okay, you hire somebody full-time in your local market, and you have to pay them a really good wage. They can't be 100% commission in my experience. But first, let me back up because I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about what you're going to use your ISA for. And what's funny is I know that I'm speaking, a lot of you guys are Canadian, and I know that in a lot of your markets you have I would say that compared to the US, you have a more diverse, in a lot of cases, a more diverse market in terms of language spoken or culture, whatever it may be. So for you guys, you can more easily get away with virtuals or offshore, somebody who's not in Canada or North America. However, I believe that this still holds true from my own experience. And, when I'm going to say this, if I say don't hire offshore, don't hire outside your market, somebody's going to say, oh my God, somebody's going to argue and say that they have a whole bunch of overseas virtuals and they're crushing it. Good for you. Congratulations. That doesn't work for most people. Okay. So what I'll say in my experience, for the vast majority of team leaders or agents, what typically works better is if you look at it this way. You've got kind of two different things that you might have an ISA doing for you. On one hand, you have the lower impact tasks, which you could look at it as a database manager or a lead scrubber. A database manager, lead scrubber is somebody who is executing your messaging plans or managing your leads in your system, managing how they're tasked, how they're tagged, what messaging systems they're on, and whether people are in the right place. And they can be monitoring for activity that they could then either text or email or interact with digitally, typically without a voice-to-voice or video-to-video. For that task, that's great for offshore people, non-native English speakers, or people who don't speak the language of the majority of your demographic. Okay, outsourced. They don't have to be in your market for that kind of stuff. If you want an ISA who's going to do all of those things, plus be able to do outbound calling, receive inbound calls, do video to video, represent your company, represent your area, and have local knowledge, and be able to take a lead all the way through nurture to setting a good vetted, qualified appointment. In my opinion, the best way to go about that is in market. Somebody who's in your market, generally in your demographic, speaks the language of the majority of your clientele in your market. And that one, it tends to be more expensive. So if you want somebody to be more of a functionary with the, executing the program, managing the database, do that. You can do that virtual. And typically that's going to cost you anywhere from, say, $4 an hour to $7 an hour. And most commonly, that's going to be from the Philippines. And I have a website where you can source your own virtuals in the Philippines. Let me get that link for you guys if you don't already have it. Let me find it as I'm talking. I know that there are other services that will place them from other countries. They'll manage them for you, or to whatever degree that may be. And that can be a really good option if you are looking to have someone manage your systems, manage your processes. Did somebody have a question? I feel like somebody just unmuted themselves. No? Okay. If you I'm still looking for that job board for you guys. Let me find it. I knew I was going to share it. I forgot to grab it. Let's see. It would be, here it is. It is hiring. Here it is. VA recruiting sites. Okay, so for the one in the Philippines, I'm just going to paste it into the chat for you guys. My chat. This one is, it's not Upwork, Christina. It's onlinejobs.ph. Oops, I just sent that directly to Christina. Let me do it to everybody. Paste. There we go. Onlinejobs.ph. So that's a really good recruiting site right there. where you can find virtuals. There's a lot of different virtual websites where you can find people in other countries. And you know, it's a very cost-effective way to have somebody execute a particular system and maintain things for you. If you want somebody to be a salesperson for you in your local market, to be able to have a conversation, do great discovery, build rapport, have local knowledge, and book an appointment for you, you're looking for somebody with a high degree of sales skill. And that, I'm going to tell you, typically is going to be in your local market. For that, generally what we say right now is that if you want to hire a good ISA in your local market, you're going to need to pay them a base pay that is comparable to what you would pay a good assistant. So there is no exact number because I'm talking to people in different areas with different cost of living and different price points. But generally speaking, this holds true that if you are paying a base pay similar to what a good assistant would cost you, whether that's $35,000, $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, that's what you're at least going to need to have a full-time in-market ISA working for you. Then what you do when you lay this job out for them, you let them know that they will be getting a base pay plus commission. So what I find is that for a full-time good salesperson, what I'm looking for is for somebody with, say, somewhere between 2 and 4 years of direct selling experience. When I say direct selling experience, I'm not talking about customer service. I'm not somebody who worked behind a cash register, right, and just rang people up. What I'm looking for is somebody who has between 2 to 4 years of experience of having to interact with a consumer and get them to make a buying decision, whether that's cars, gym memberships, real estate for in some other way, rentals, door-to-door sales, whatever it may be. Somebody who had to interact with a consumer directly and get them to make a decision. And they have a couple of years of experience of doing that. Then I'm going to tell them, hey, it's this base pay. Oh, by the way, when you're advertising, the easiest way to do this is you just run ads in Indeed or on a regular job board. You put some money behind it. You're looking to get, you know, anywhere from 30 to 70 resumes per week. And when you highlight that job ad, you advertise the on-target earnings. On-target earnings means your base pay plus whatever commission you believe they can earn, an average of whatever commission it may be. So depending on your market, you're probably looking for somebody who is going to need an on-target earnings somewhere between 65 to 75,000 on the lower end. In the middle range, say 75 to 85. Higher end, if you're in a higher end market, you're probably going to be like 90 to 110,000 between their base pay plus their commission. When I say commission, I know I'm talking to a lot of Canadians. I know you guys have a lot of rules around licensure and commissions and things like that. If I say commission and you can't pay commission to an unlicensed person, then it needs to be some form of bonus. Okay? That can't be directly tied to production. That's the way that we do it in several areas down here in the US. If we can't have commission, if we have unlicensed ISAs and they can't be paid a commission, then it becomes a bonus. Okay? All right. I'm not going to get into all of that. If you want to figure out how to do it so that you stay on this side of legal, talk to your broker. Okay? Good. But suffice it to say, you're advertising the on-target earnings, base plus whatever bonus or compensation or however you want to term it. And so when you're compensating an ISA, typically what's very common would be somewhere between 5 and 7% of whatever the GCI is. Okay, as a bonus. When they're first starting out, and this is something you need to tell the ISA that you've recruited, hey, you know, the on-target earnings, I'm just gonna use 75,000. We're working on getting you to 75,000 in your first year. Your base pay is gonna be X, and the remainder of that is gonna be made up of, here's how it works, right? homes that you cause to be sold or contracts, closings that happen as a result of you, you get this percentage of it, where you can compensate them because it may take up to 6 months before they start seeing any significant commission. You can also compensate them on qualified Met appointments and contracts signed. So you can compensate some dollars on a good Met appointment if it meets certain criteria. You can compensate on contracts signed. If we got a buyer-broker relationship where we took a listing, or a buyer or seller that you set us up with goes under agreement. So that's another way that you can break down some of that compensation and start getting them bonuses sooner. Typically, if that, and that's for in market. If you're using virtuals and you want to compensate your virtuals, you also just find some sort of metric that you can give them some small compensation on. But usually, in my experience, I'm not using VAs for sales, so to speak. And so I don't really need to compensate with bonuses or things like that that are directly tied to sales. Okay. Any other questions about pay or compensation? All right, good. Did I get the VA versus in-house thing answered versus outsourced company thing answered? Any yeah, buts, what ifs? Hey, Hector. Hector raised his hand.
Hi, thank you for this information. I just wanted to confirm, you mentioned 5% to 7% of GCI is like commission or bonus. That is on top of the base, basically, is what you're saying?
Yes, because if you think about it, if you're working in-house, if it's an in-house ISA and you want them to be able to take a lead all the way to a good qualified appointment and be able to nurture anybody who's not ready for that good qualified appointment, they're going to need a good base pay that they can live on, but they also need to be salespeople who have an appetite for earnings, which means we're going to have to give them more because we can't afford a base pay that would keep a really good salesperson happy.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If I pay you a base pay of 40,000, you better still be really lean and hungry. If you are fat and happy at 40,000, you are not my salesperson. Got it?
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, good. Sean Kundra.
Hello, sir. My first question is like, how you differentiate between like the business generated by ISA and just business generated by yourself. So you still need some sort of help with business related by yourself, like how you will differentiate that. And also regarding when you say like salary, like how you can keep them, like most of the jobs are like 10 to 5 or 8 to 4 or something like that. How they can be available on like after hours or weekends and stuff, how you can do that.
Sure. So if I'm using an ISA, if I'm using a salesperson, whether in-house or whatever it is, to support me, I don't differentiate between my business and their business. If I'm paying you, you are my paid salesperson. And if you have to interact with somebody in order to cause a sale to happen or to cause a closing to happen, I pay you a commission. Does that help, Sean?
So that person will be getting commission on all the transaction you're doing.
Everything that the ISA themselves touches, yes.
Okay.
If my outside agents sell and it doesn't require assistance or conversion by the ISA isn't involved in the commission. If I make a sale on my own, I didn't need the ISA to talk to them or help convert them or help nurture them or book appointments for me. The ISA is not involved and I don't compensate them.
Good.
All right. And now let's get to your other question about hours.
Yes.
The way that we look at ISAs is you are a salesperson. It's just that you're a salesperson that also gets a base pay rather than being 100% commission. So if I put you in charge of my leads, typically what I say I'm looking for the type of salesperson that is hungry and will respond to a new inbound lead when they're sitting on their couch at home, at 8 o'clock at night, or on Sunday morning. I'm looking for somebody who's hungry like that. And I tell them that, hey, you know, well, let me say this first. We make a distinction. So if I'm running a company where I have really high quality inbound leads, things like people calling on my signs or people responding to my really expensive advertising because they want to interact with us, those are priority. And after hours, they have to be contacted until about 9 p.m. and starting again about 8 a.m. the next day. So you're required to jump on anything that is a priority like that. Versus, let's say that I'm just running social media ads and getting a bunch of, you know, half-ass registrations. I don't expect that you're going to jump on all that stuff after your working hours. You can get to that stuff after your working hours. If people are directly responding to us from something that we did or sales action we took, or they are a high quality lead that is requesting showings or information or interacting with us, those have to be jumped on after hours and weekends. And that's just the expectation. When I start with one ISA, that ISA needs to hustle and they're going to be hitting stuff after hours and on the weekends. Once I'm able to hire more ISAs, then I run it in shifts. Good. Okay. Should we move on to the recruiting process? Or does anybody have any other questions? Let's talk about recruiting. Okay. Interject if you have a question. So here's the best practice that we found for recruiting in market. Obviously, we gave you guys, or I gave you one of the links for finding virtuals offshore. And we all talked about sort of my experience of what the expectations are. I think about it as virtual offshore would be up to a conversation or an in-depth interaction. In market is all the way from lead, all the way through nurturing to qualified appointment and even beyond. Because if it's a qualified appointment and they don't transact, I need that ISA to take over again. So if we talk about the recruiting process, when you're running ads in market, just like I said, put it onto a job board, highlight your on target earnings, which is the total amount of money that somebody can earn if they're hitting the metrics that you give them. And when you write your job ad, this is just a little bit of advice for you. Don't start off your job ad with all the difficult, tough, hard work they're going to have to put into the job that you're offering. Start off with why they would love to work for your company, what the exciting parts are about working for your team or with you, or how they're going to benefit, what they're going to get from it, and how much fun it would be. And then get into the ugly stuff they have to do. Okay? That's just a little tip. I find much better return or interaction there. So you're running your job ads for in market. Again, what I typically require people to do is when they reply, I set this up with my assistant. So we're running the job ads. People inquire to the job ad. I don't look at resumes. I don't bother reading them because a resume has never told me whether somebody's going to be good at sales or not. Okay. The best they can do with a resume is make it a good collection of lies. So I don't really look at the resumes. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not looking for somebody necessarily with inside sales experience, and I'm not necessarily looking for agents who are already licensed. I know that's always a big question. Should I hire agents that are already licensed? If you're in Canada, possibly. But here's the issue that I find with hiring agents to do this work. If an agent were to do the work that I'm going to tell them to do, they would already make 5 times as much as I'm going to pay them to do it for me. So why the hell would somebody who's willing to do that work come and do it for me for a fraction of the pay? That almost never works out. The other thing is, sometimes people think, oh, I need somebody with inside sales experience. Let me tell you something. Working inside sales is a limited time job. Okay. If somebody can bang out 2 years or maybe 3 years of it, that's about the most that they're going to be able to do. The rest of those people are stuck in it because they can't do anything else. Okay. Every once in a while, you run across that odd bird who just loves sitting in a dark room, getting yelled at by strangers, and that's all they ever want to do. Great, hire them, and hopefully they work out for you. Otherwise, it's a high burnout position. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for salespeople that don't have experience in real estate, that are relative, that have a little bit of experience at sales, and they still have a lot of energy, and they can take a lot of punches to the face and do it for at least a year. Okay. Good. So I'm running the ads. They apply. My assistant sends the first email as a reply to them. And it's something like, hey, thank you so much for applying for our position for inside sales. Please watch this quick video we shot for you and follow the instructions. And here's the link you're going to need, right? You shoot a video. This is what you do. You take your phone and you say, hi, I'm Mary Smith. We're hiring for inside sales. Thank you so much. I wanted to shoot this quick video to tell you who we are. And thank you for applying. We're looking for somebody with some 2 to 3 years experience or 3 to 4 years of direct selling experience, somebody who can have conversations with great people every day and set appointments for us. And so if you think that's you, please get your phone out, shoot a quick video for me. Let me know who you are and what qualifications you have that you think are going to make you a great ISA for us, and then upload it to the folder that's in the email. Okay. You're asking them for a little video audition. That's going to get you, that's going to let you listen to how they sound. Well, actually, first, before that, it's going to tell you whether or not they have the technological capability to whip out their damn phone and shoot a video and upload it for you. Okay? You'd be amazed. Who can't do that? It also gives you an idea of what they did to get ready for it, right? Do they look put together? Did they brush their hair? Or are they in jammies that they look like they've been wearing for 2 weeks, right? With crumbs on them. Not that you aren't going to hire the jammy person with crumbs on them, but you just put all of that into the filter of, are you going to work out well for me or not, or what should I look out for? Get them to upload that video, watch the videos. From there, you decide who moves to the next step. I go through those once a day, check out the videos. I take the ones that we want, stick them into another folder, and the assistant knows that she'll send interaction 2 to that person. If we move them forward, basically what we do is we invite them to a 20-minute Zoom call. And on that quick 20-minute Zoom call, we also send them a script, which I can share with you guys today if you shoot me an email. You can use our scripts. It's for role playing, right? And I'll describe it to you in a second here. But basically, we send them another email and invites them to do a quick 20-minute Zoom call with us. The purpose of that Zoom call, we get on there, and really it's to tell them what the role is, what the requirements are, what the pay is, what the expectation is, whether they have to be in your office to do it or whether you'll let them work from home or not. Tell them all about it. Tell them that it can take between 4 to 6 months to really start earning a good amount of commission, right? And find out, hey, tell me how you can live on that 40K base pay for the next 6 months. Tell me how you can live on that 50K base pay or whatever it is. Make them explain it to you. And then once you've gone through what the job is and what the requirements are, then you say, okay, great. If you're still interested, then we're going to role play. And, you know, we've sent you a script that we're going to be role playing. And basically, you're going to play the part of a for sale by owner, and you're going to make them play the part of an agent. And we have a modified script that we use where basically we tell them 2 important things. So I'm just going to pretend I'm talking to Sandy. You don't have to unmute or anything, Sandy. So let's say Sandy's my ISA candidate, right? And I say, okay, Sandy, we're going to role play. And I know Sandy has no real estate experience. That's totally okay. It doesn't matter. Remember, guys, all we're looking for is sales experience. So I say, Sandy, we're going to role play. You're going to play the part of an agent. I'm going to play the part of a for sale by owner, meaning I don't want to work with an agent. Your goal, Sandy, is to book a face-to-face appointment with me at my home to talk about working together, okay? The only way you fail this exercise is if you let me off the phone before you get through all your questions. Okay, Sandy? Sandy says, oh, sure, or laughs about the fact that I told her she was going to fail, whatever it is. And then I proceed to role play and try to kick her off the phone. And we see what happens. By doing this structured role play, it tells you a lot about the person. So I have some criteria that we use, right? If Sandy lets me off the phone before she asks me for an appointment, do I hire her? Shake your head up and down or side to side. No, we don't hire her. Because why? I told Sandy if she lets me off the phone before she gets through all her questions, she fails. When I do that first interview with somebody, if they can't even follow that direction, it ain't going to get any better. I promise you. Okay. A salesperson will at least close you one time. Why don't I tell Sandy, hey, Sandy, you have to ask me for an appointment? Why don't I say that? Roger, why don't I tell Sandy she has to ask me for an appointment? Roger Grubb.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
I was just on mute. Yeah, you want to make sure that somebody that's at least going to do the job that you want her to do. She's going to get rejected all the time, or she's going to she's going to have to overcome those objections. And if she can't do that basic thing, then she's not necessarily going to be right for you.
Yes.
Not sorry, bad choice of words. She's definitely not going to be right for you.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I shouldn't need to tell a salesperson with 2 or 3 or 4 years of sales experience that they have to ask me for an appointment if I told them the goal is to get an appointment, right, everybody? It's another basic test. So if I say to you, you have to ask me for an appointment, that kind of screws it up and I don't get to see what your natural inclination is. If I tell you your goal is to set a face-to-face with me and that you fail if you let me off the phone before you get all your questions or through all your questions and you don't ask me for an appointment, you are not the right fit for me. That doesn't mean that they can't be good at sales or they won't eventually be good at sales, but this is going to be an expensive sales position for you. What you're looking for is somebody who already has enough sales experience that they can come into a role play like that, whether they sound good or not, and ask you for an appointment at the bare minimum. Okay? In the face of being objected to. Good. And then there's a lot of other stuff in that role play that it tells you what their skill set is or how you look for things that might be a red flag in the future. A definite red flag and a no-go, as I mentioned, is letting me kick them off the phone before they try to book an appointment with me. The other one is if they keep breaking role play to ask you questions. Okay? That's another no-go. That's somebody that either doesn't have enough sales experience to just do it, or they are too analytical for you. Okay. All right, good. Analytical people typically don't make a good fit for an inside sales position, or really analytical people typically don't. All right. I see people chatting in the email addresses. Do this. Isis, can you grab these email? I don't want you to chat in your email. I want you to shoot me an email. I think Isis dropped my email address, which is dale@smartsalescoaching.com. Isis, please grab any emails that do get dropped so that we can answer those. All right. Once you've done the role play process, and again, if you guys shoot me an email, I'll send you that script that we use. I'll send you both the agent version and the screener version, where it has all of our built-in objections, so that you can see how we do that. And frankly, if you're going to hire agents onto your team who don't already have an impressive sales record over the last 12 months, or they're newer, I would put them through this role play just to see where they're at. It's a really effective one to use. Here's the next step. If you get through the role play and they close you at least once for an appointment, and I never give it to them on the first close, I always want to see who's going to close me twice. Those are my really aggressive people. If you get through that, then what I do is I invite them to a calling session, and you can do this in your office or you can do it virtually, either way. But basically, I tell them it's going to be a 3-hour session. For the first hour, and I try to stack up at least 2, if not 3 candidates for this, to do it at the same time to make it efficient for me. So it's going to be a 3-hour interview is what I tell them, and that we're going to teach them a script and we're going to give them a stack of numbers, and they're going to make calls on a recorded line for 2 hours, because that's going to tell me several things. You'd be shocked at what happens when you listen to the interactions that people have with consumers. There have been people that I thought would be a great hire, that when I listened to what they actually did when they talked to consumers, turned out to be a bad hire. There were people that I didn't think would be good, that when I listened to them interact with consumers, they became a good hire. One of the best, I want to tell you the story, one of the best ISAs that I ever hired, when we did that role play, and I said, she's going to be an agent, I'm going to be a for sale by owner. And then I told her that she would fail if she didn't get through all her questions. And I started objecting to her, completely ignored the damn objections and just kept asking her questions. Like didn't even engage around the objection I gave, and just went to the next question. She turned out to be able to produce 50 to 60 transactions. I think she did almost 60 transactions in her first 12 months with my team using an average lead mix. Okay. She just did what she didn't have the skill set or the experience, but she just did what I told her to do. And she turned out to be one of the most profitable ISAs I've ever hired. So again, you can't just base it on the role play itself. You really need to do the calling session also, so you can hear how they interact with people. So yeah, you teach them a quick script, and you can either use a bunch of those leads that you guys already have that nobody's talking to, your old stuff, or you can just, you can't, wait, Canada, can you do circle prospecting? In certain areas you can, certain areas you can't, right? I think.
We have brokerages that make us sign something to say that we won't do it. But if you're with a brokerage that allows it, you have to make sure that you buy the do not call list access, which is very expensive, and then use a third party that integrates that list. So we don't generally do it.
Okay, got it. I do know, so I've worked with teams and companies across Canada, and I know there's a myriad of different rules and regulations and things that different areas follow, or different customs people follow. So I always want you to stay legal. I don't recommend doing anything illegal or that's going to get you in trouble, but I do know that there are ways, there are people that you could have these candidates call and record it, listen to it, so that you can get an idea of how they interact with consumers. And so if you, let's say, for instance, you're doing a circle prospect, or you're doing a survey in a neighborhood with just a list of numbers, obviously scrubbed against the do not call. What you can do in that case, with the old internet leads, you just use an old internet lead script. Very simple, right? Hey, you registered on my site a long time ago to look at homes for sale. Are you have you purchased yet, or are you still in the market? Super basic script. And you tell them that the goal is to set an appointment or a conversation with you, the agent, right? If you have them calling just circle prospect or complete strangers or a list of numbers, just give them a survey to take, right? Hey, how long have you lived in your home, or how long have you been in this neighborhood? If you did have plans to move, when do you think it would be, et cetera, and tell them their goal there is to get email addresses, because that's hard to do. And you want to see how many they can get. Okay. I think Hector just raised his hand again. Did you have a question, Hector?
Yeah, I did. Hi.
Hi.
So I'm working on a lot of leads now that are new construction leads. I'm in Miami, and we have a lot of new construction development sales for high-rise condominiums, probably similar to like a lot of what happened in Toronto before. I don't know if Toronto's super active still, but I wonder how an inside sales person would work in that context, in terms of automatic response to leads that are coming in. And these are inquiries for specific projects, that might take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years to build. And I am conflicted about whether that's something that I can actually outsource, or if those first conversations really should be with me. I don't have a problem doing them, but obviously you don't always reach people, even if you call them immediately. So
yeah. Here's what I would say. You have to determine the quality of that first interaction. If the voice-to-voice phone interaction it can provide a lot of high quality people, then that's what you have to prioritize. If you need a screening process where there's not a lot of high quality in what's coming in, and you need a filter, that can be done via text or email, and that can be outsourced. My only advice is, if you're going to outsource, either way, find your own person. Okay. If you're going offshore virtual, find them yourself. If you're going in-house, in market, find them yourself. That's the best way to go about it, because you get to ultimately control what their process is and you can iterate faster.
I mean, I definitely think it has to be in-house in market, because a lot of the leads that we get are from the outside. So, like really we're doing heavily things in Latin America. So we're dealing with a lot of Brazilian buyers, Mexican buyers, Argentinian buyers, other people from other places who are looking to purchase in Miami, many of whom have a decent level of familiarity with Miami because they already come here, vacation, maybe they own properties. So definitely it's got to be somebody local that, the client can't know more about Miami than they do.
Right.
Basically.
That's what I mean. You find somebody in market, preferably who's bilingual.
Yeah, they got to speak these other languages, but I'm still just not clear on, let's just assume that the voice to voice thing, I mean, I think it's always the best to speak with someone. If I can get them on the phone, that's really my target. But I just don't know if, like, even if I hired an ISA and, work with you guys to train ISAs, et cetera, if that's really something that would just be left more as part of the nurture conversation rather than the immediate response to an inbound lead conversation for a new construction project.
So if you're using an in-house person would cover both the nurture as well as the immediate business, that because you're hiring somebody who is you're hiring a salesperson, right? You're hiring a full-time salesperson who's dedicated to determining, are you now business or are you future business? And if you're now business, we book the appointment, we book the meeting. If you're future business, I put you through a certain process that's going to keep you, right? That is what you typically get from your in-market person that is a good experienced salesperson.
And then do you have any, like in the case of inbound leads, I hear you that the purpose is to set an appointment. Maybe it's just a mindset thing that I have where sometimes if I'm on the phone, I have this fear that we have to discuss as much as we can on this call to kind of really hook you, because I can set an appointment with you and then I may not get that second opportunity to actually speak with you when I call because you don't pick up, and then I keep calling. And even though we had an appointment that it wasn't actually set. So do the ISAs, like in the case of, let's say, new construction projects, would they ever actually get into anything with respect to availability, pricing, things like that in a project, assuming they're licensed, for instance? Or you would still recommend, nope, their whole purpose is setting an appointment, setting you up as the market expert, and then get them on the phone the next time you have an appointment. And if they don't get on the phone ever, then maybe they just weren't that serious a candidate to begin with.
The best, most profitable thing that you can do is if you're running licensed ISAs, they literally function like a real estate agent. They are real estate agents. They function as real estate agents. The only things they don't do is they don't go open the door for you, and they don't sit on your couch and get you to sign the listing paperwork. Those are the two things they don't do, right? But that is the bet. If you can hire in market, licensed, or get them licensed, because it's easy. I don't know how easy it is to do in Florida. Here in PA, it takes about 30 days and you can do it online. So
yeah, you can do it like Florida similar.
Okay, so sorry, Canadians, you guys need to redo your licensure laws up there. It's really tough to get licensed in Canada. So yeah, down here, for instance, in PA, when we run ISAs, we hire unlicensed people and we require them to get their online license within the first 30 days. We pay to get that done. And when those ISAs are then licensed, they can talk about pricing, they can give recommendations, they can talk about market conditions, they can give advice, all that sort of stuff. So if you have the luxury of being able to have licensed ISAs, then that gives you more opportunity that way.
And then for the licensed ISAs, do you keep the payment structure similar with the 5 to 7% of GCI as the commission or bonus?
Same thing. And, everybody, what we do is we set an expectation that, hey, if you take this inside sales position, the expectation is you're going to be here for at least 12 months. Don't take this position if your goal is to be an outside agent. Don't take this position if you want to move over and do something else. Take this position because you want to master lead conversion and you're willing to do it for at least 12 months. So that's what we tell people, keep them on the same pay schedule. Of course, if an ISA shows real promise in terms of being an outside agent and they want to make that transition after 12 months, we absolutely encourage that. But usually what I find is when we set that expectation up front, we more often than not can get people to stay for 2 to 3 years if they're successful at it and they're earning money. Let me do this. I'm over time, guys. I appreciate it, Hector. Love all the questions. Do this. If you just real quick, basically the way that we can work with you guys is there's a couple different things. We can either consult with you. So my trainers have experience of building and managing ISA departments. So if you want to have one of our trainers be a consultant with you, we can talk about doing that. If you currently have ISAs and you want some high level scripting and dialogue training, we have that available too. When we do consulting, we help you install this recruiting and screening process, get it dialed in and operating. And then once you've made a hire, you can put them into our training courses. We typically, if you're hiring in market in North America, that's an easy one. Definitely put them into our training. If you are outsourcing, we typically don't take on somebody else's ISAs for training. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend spending more money on the ISA that was given to you by some other company. If you're hiring, offshore, outside your market, virtuals in another country, we tend to be a little bit more cautious about letting you pay us to train somebody, only because if you're trying to make that offshore person have those phone conversations and those interactions to get all the way to an appointment, that's a harder thing to do and to make work. And so we're a little more cautious about taking money to train somebody to do that. So you would have to be really convinced yourself that you got a real winner on your hands, and they're doing a good job for you already. Hopefully that makes sense, everybody. Okay, good. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully Isis dropped my Ijaz wrote scripts. Cool. Hopefully she dropped my email address. We'll shoot this out to you guys, and thanks for attending. Hopefully you guys learned something from this. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.